All right, my English teacher friends, Kristian Kuhn coming at you, affectionately known as the Bob Ross of composition. And up my sleeve in this short little explainer video is an exercise that I call Mad Libs, an exercise using the 20-sentence patterns. There's a little bit of context and background that I need to explain before I show you the exercise. In brief, I use a manual very early in the academic year to teach my kids the basics, and it's called Strunk and White, Write It Right. And in it, they go over the use of commas and colons and semicolons and all that stuff, dashes, parentheticals. But rule number 18 states that there's 12 different sentence types. And then of those types, you can pattern them 20 different ways. I spend a lot of time on this in my Nuance Academy with my students, in which I try to break my struggling and emerging writers of the following tendency. And I'm sure teachers, you've noticed this a lot in your student writing. Students that struggle the most end up using independent clauses and short, simple declarative sentences ad nauseum in their writing so that their tone sounds like da-da, 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 da-da. So this exercise is gauged and devised to help kids create better musicality, better voice rhythm and flow in their writing. So a couple of things first. We're going to take a look at a letter that Ben Franklin wrote to Arthur Lee. And you'll see in a second here when I show you the slide, I've omitted a couple of sentences and I say things like this, insert pattern number 3. And you might be wondering, well, how is my student supposed to know that? Ta-da, I gotcha. Included down below in the descriptor of this video is a study guide that I made in a cheat sheet. So the study guide is comprised of this. All 20 sentence patterns are there and they're defined. But underneath the definition, you have 4 model exemplars that I wrote demonstrating how to wield that pattern. So let's say, for example, in this exercise, you get to sentence 4 of Ben Franklin's letter, and I say, insert pattern 18. I print these packets out for kids, and they turn to, sentence pattern 18. They read the definition, and then they look at my models and exemplars, and then they replicate that in the context of Ben Franklin's letter. Pretty cool. So this is the first Mad Lib that I'm doing with my students, so it's pretty basic. Here are the directions and the guidelines for this. So while referencing the 20-sentence pattern cheat sheet, fill in the blank with the suggested sentence pattern. And again, just to reinforce this, source packet or the cheat sheet, the manual is in the description box below as a PDF, and feel free to use it. I made it for you guys. So here is the letter, all right? And you can see in the second sentence, or the third sentence, I've taken out the original sentence and I said insert pattern number 19. This is kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone exercise because students will see, and you can draw their eyes to this, that Franklin starts off with these short, simple declarative sentences, independent clauses. And it creates his stern, almost adamant tone. And sentence pattern 19 is a parallel sentence to 1 and 2. So they got to keep it very short and keep it kind of emphatic. And then as you go through this down towards the end, they're going to wield sentence pattern number 3. Again, they can get into the manual and study my 4 exemplars for that. And then they're going to end with sentence pattern number 20. As I proceed through these Mad Libs and upload more to my YouTube channel, I'm going to make them more complex. Again, this is just an introductory one, quick little icebreaker, sort of, a bell ringer, if you will, early in the academic year while my students are learning these patterns. So I have all sorts of short letters from like Ayn Rand, Henry Rollins, Jimmy Buffett, you name it, Bob Dylan, very small letters like this, where I will ask students to insert an additional sentence or I will omit and have them replicate it. Another thing that I did in here is I have the original text right here. So after your students revise, they can see how Ben Franklin wielded those sentence patterns, right? And they just got to do it based on context. and do their best with it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or just want to say hello, drop me an email at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. You can also find out about my professional development sessions that I host throughout the calendar year at www.teachinghowtowrite.com. I'm on the road quite a bit lately. I'm going to a lot of districts hosting PD for departments or team members in a department. I've also created a self-paced course that goes over my Word Study Academy, my Nuance Academy, and my heuristics as they stretch across the expository modes. So if you want more information on that, check out my website. And if you got questions upon looking at that, feel free to drop me an email. Be well, and I'll continue to make more advanced Mad Lib exercises incorporating the 20 sentence patterns in the coming days and weeks. Take care.